Amazon. We have come to represent this region as the lungs of the planet, a boundless ocean of primeval greenery. But for soil scientists and geologists, this place has long remained a mystery. Once dubbed the Green Hell, or the Wet Desert, the paradox lies in the fact that despite all the visible abundance of vegetation, the soil here is among the most barren on Earth. Tropical rains, falling for millennia, have leached all nutrients from the earth. What remains beneath your feet is an acidic, bright orange clay called oxisol. It contains almost no nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium. If you attempted to clear a plot here for a farm, your harvest would perish within just a couple of years. The land simply exhausts itself to the hardness of stone. This is precisely why historians long considered the chronicles of the Spanish conquistador Francisco de Orellana to be pure fiction. In 1541, he was the first to sail the entire length of the Amazon and described something incredible. Vast, flourishing cities, millions of inhabitants, and endless fruit orchards stretching for hundreds of miles. His contemporaries and subsequent generations of researchers laughed at these records. They argued that such a massive civilization simply could not have fed itself on these dead lands. Orellana was declared a liar, and his cities the product of hallucinations brought on by tropical fever. This continued until the end of the 20th century, when archaeologists began to dig deeper. What they discovered overturned our understanding not only of American history, but of the very future of agriculture. Deep beneath the turf lay patches of earth that physically should not have existed in this climate. The locals called it Terra Preta do Indio, the black earth of the Indians. When scientists first took samples of Terra Preta for analysis, they were stunned. It was a coal-black, greasy, super fertile soil that reached depths of 2 meters. But the most amazing thing was not its composition, but its age. Radiocarbon analysis showed that these patches were between 1,000 and 2,500 years old. Think about that. Modern fertilizers are washed out of the soil in a single rainy season. Ordinary compost completely decomposes and disappears in 3 years. But Terra Preta remains fertile for 20 centuries, sitting in the most aggressive climate on the planet. Moreover, Terra Preta behaves like a living organism. Scientists conducted an experiment. They removed part of the black earth from a plot, leaving an empty pit. After several years, the layer of black soil began to recover and grow, literally consuming the surrounding barren clay. It self-regenerates. How is this possible? How could ancient tribes, whom we considered primitive, create a technology superior to everything modern agrochemistry has invented at the cost of billions of dollars? The secret turned out to be hidden in a structure we today call biochar. If you burn wood in an ordinary campfire, you get ash. Ash is useful, but it dissolves quickly. The ancient inhabitants of the Amazon used a different process. They used pyrolysis, burning organic matter at a very low temperature with almost no access to oxygen. The result was not ash, but charcoal. But not just charcoal for a barbecue. Under a microscope, biochar looks like a futuristic metropolis. It is an endless labyrinth of millions of tiny pores, chambers, and channels. A single handful of this charcoal has a surface area equal to several football fields. And herein lies the first secret. These microscopic pores became the ideal sanctuary for microorganisms. In ordinary soil, bacteria and fungi are defenseless against drought or flooding. Inside biochar, they are safe. Charcoal became a kind of coral reef for the soil. It does not decompose for millennia because bacteria cannot digest pure carbon. It remains in the earth forever, creating a permanent infrastructure for life. But by itself, charcoal is merely an empty house. If you simply pour it into your garden, your crop will die, because empty charcoal is greedy. Its pores are empty, and it will begin to suck in all the nutrients and water from the surrounding environment, depriving the plant roots. The ancient Indians knew this. They never used fresh charcoal. They created a system of charging the earth that we are only now beginning to understand. Analysis of Terra Preta showed that it consists of 3 key elements working in perfect symbiosis. The first is biochar, the framework of the entire system. The second is broken pottery. In every piece of black earth, millions of small shards of clay pots are found. For a long time, archaeologists thought this was just trash. But it was later revealed, the porous clay acted as an additional battery for moisture and minerals, while the sharp edges of the shards prevented soil compaction, ensuring ideal aeration for the roots. The third and most important element is the biological charge. The Indians created a closed-loop recycling system. All the waste of civilization was cast into the pits with charcoal, fish and animal bones, turtle shells, plant remains, and human waste. In modern cities, sewage is a problem and a source of pollution. In the Amazon, it was a resource. Phosphorus from bones, nitrogen from waste, and calcium from shells entered the empty apartments of the biochar. The charcoal absorbed these elements, preserved them, and prevented the rains from washing them away. The result was magical. Microorganisms processed this cocktail, turning it into a stable form of humus bonded to the charcoal matrix. Thus, Terra Preta was born, a soil that needs no supplementary feeding because it is itself an infinite reservoir of energy. Here we come to the most uncomfortable question. If Terra Preta is so effective, why is it not used everywhere? Why do we continue to drench our fields in liquid nitrogen and pesticides that kill the soil? The answer lies in the architecture of modern business. Terra Preta is a technology of freedom and self-sufficiency. You create it once, and it works for centuries. You cannot build a model of annual sales on it. Modern agriculture is built on a model of dependency. Every year, a farmer must buy hybrid seeds that do not produce offspring. He must buy chemical fertilizers because his soil is dead and cannot produce nutrition on its own. He must buy pesticides because plants on chemicals are weak and have no immunity. This is an addiction loop. Switching to a system like Terra Preta would make farmers independent of corporations. Charcoal can be made from any wood waste right on site. Compost is free. Furthermore, Terra Preta is a powerful tool in the fight against climate change. Plants take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. When we turn them into biochar and bury it in the ground, we literally lock carbon in the soil for thousands of years. It is the most effective way to save the planet. But no one can send a bill for it, which means it is of no interest to big capital. You don't have to wait for the world to change. You can recreate this black gold on your own plot using the knowledge of the ancients. It is not difficult, but it requires an understanding of the process. Stage 1. Obtaining charcoal. You don't need an expensive setup. A metal barrel is enough. The point is to heat the wood without access to oxygen. Your task is to get black, clinking charcoal that doesn't stain your hands like soot, but crumbles into small pieces. Remember, ash is not biochar. Ash is burnt minerals. We need the carbon skeleton. Stage 2. Charging or activation. This is the most important step. Never put dry charcoal under plants. You must fill it with residents and food. Place the crushed charcoal in a container. Fill it with a nutrient solution. This can be manure tea, compost tea, or liquid humus. Let it soak for at least 2 weeks. The charcoal must be saturated to the limit with moisture and microelements. Stage 3. Inoculation. To make the charcoal come alive, you must settle beneficial microbes in it. Add preparations with effective microorganisms or simply a few handfuls of earth from an old, healthy forest to your solution. The microbes will instantly colonize the pores of the charcoal, creating their colonies there. Stage 4. Mineralization. Add a source of slow phosphorus and calcium to the mix, bone meal, fish meal, or crushed eggshells. This is exactly what the Indians did. This will create a food supply for decades to come. Stage 5. Application. Mix the resulting substrate with your soil. You don't need to cover the entire garden at once. Start by creating islands of fertility in the holes when planting trees or shrubs. You will notice the difference in the very first season. Plants will be stronger, greener, and much more resistant to drought. The ancient inhabitants of the Amazon left us neither gold nor stone idols. They left us a technology of survival, sealed within the earth itself. They prove that humanity can not only deplete the planet, but also be its greatest creator. Today, When our soils are exhausted by chemistry and products are losing their nutritional value, returning to Terra Preta is not just a gardening experiment. It is a return to common sense. Your garden can become part of this great revival. Start creating your living earth today. For true wealth is not what lies in the bank, but what grows beneath your feet.